Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hi, guys.
Welcome to Geeking Poetic Podcast channel. I'm your host, Larry Roberts. This Randy Romulan over here, that she just made it here by the skin of her teeth today.
I was trying so hard. I was like flying. I was like, get out of my way. But I'm Megan Guess.
And we are here to talk about what?
Picard Season 3, Episode 3.
Yep. We are well underway with this show now.
Sure.
And man, it's already been a bit of a roller coaster, I think.
Yeah, it's packing a punch. What you doing over there?
Hang on. Trying to see if I can get if we're going here. I feel like we're not. Why is this?
Are we not going?
No, it doesn't look like we're going.
Oh no. Are we going, everybody? Is anybody out there? It says we're live. Yeah, we're going.
Oh, we are? Okay.
We're going.
All right, just checking. All right, it's frozen up over here on my end, so.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, just making sure. All right, so anyway, yeah, this episode, woof. We're gonna, first of all, she always yells at me if I don't let everybody know, even though it's in the description and everything. This is spoilerific. I mean, we're going to talk in great detail about everything in this episode. So if you have not watched it yet and you don't want the spoilers, you're probably gonna want to switch off, come back and listen to what we have to say later, and let us know your comments. And especially we want to know your comments. If you watch this, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Your 2 cents on what your theories are in the future. And
just,
how excited you are. Certain things are coming back.
Or disappointed you are.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, there's a lot going on with this show right now. And, it's a bit of a head trip, especially what's going on in this episode. So, this episode was entitled 17 Seconds. Mm-hmm. And I think it probably more accurately should have been called 17 Examples of Trek Characters Showing Wild Mood Swings and Totally Acting out of Character.
There's a lot of bitchy people in this one. I was like, why are you being so bitchy? I mean, some people I could understand.
Yeah.
That we'll get into. But,
yeah.
Like, when Seven in LaForge, I was like, why are you being so bitchy to her? There's no need.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
For Picard. Picard and Beverly, I get that. Be bitchy with each other. You deserve that, so.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, we'll definitely delve into all of that. But, just giving my overall impressions before we get into the recap part of it. I don't know how I felt about this episode. Really, really liked the first episode. Second episode was great. This one, it's one of those ones that I understand. It sets up a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It does start to reveal the plot.
Where we're going.
Supposedly. I mean, who knows? They'll probably change it 4 more times and go off in a bunch of different directions and stuff. But I get that, and some of the things that happen in this episode, I mean, I kind of saw, I figured out what they were probably going to do, especially like the Beverly and Jean-Luc thing. Mm-hmm. I kind of figured the way that went down was going to be the way they were going to go, and I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
But overall, it was good. Great acting in this episode. But again, I feel like it was trying too hard, especially by the end. I feel like it was trying too hard to show this like discord. It was like, how opposite end of the spectrum can we be in 60 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever the episode is? Like, and it's kind of a bummer. I know it's setting up drama and all that kind of stuff, but So what was your take on it?
I was interested to hear you just say that, because I was kind of feeling the same way, and I didn't know if it was because how I had to watch this episode, because
Right.
I had a crazy day today and had to work late. So I had to watch this in pieces, in
Right.
3 separate pieces. I had to
Right.
watch this episode. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if that made me disconnected from it, that I just wasn't feeling it as much as I did the last 2.
Let me interject. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to say on that note, it didn't help. I'm sure. I'm
Right.
sure having to watch it that way didn't help. But on that note, for me, I felt that way watching it straight through. I felt
Okay.
like I was like, God, this is so like all over the place, you know, even just the way they chose to edit it. And then, like I said, the extreme mood swings we see of people. And in some ways, it almost feels like they tried to cram too much into this episode, at least maybe emotionally.
Emotionally, absolutely emotionally.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had heard, because I watched an interview with the staff, with the cast.
Yeah.
And it had kind of given me a warning that there was going to be some strife between Picard and Riker. I didn't realize it was this next episode, so I at least knew that was coming.
Right.
And apparently, LaForge is not going to be real happy either, for whatever reason. So I'm curious to see how that plays out when he finally makes his appearance.
Geordi.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just gathered from the scenes we've seen that, you know, leaked out from like the various trailers and stuff.
Oh, see, that's one thing I haven't seen really, is a lot of the trailer stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of things. I mean, I have to admit, I mean, that's the thing. The way this episode ends on such a cliffhanger, I mean, of course we know, you know, at the end of this episode, again, jumping right to the end, at the end when Riker's like, you've just killed us all, and they're plummeting to their death, and it's like, well, brother, it's episode 3, man. You know, it's like we've got 7 more episodes, so something tells
gonna
me
happen. I have my theories.
you're gonna get out of this just fine.
Yeah.
And we know that they do. We know they end up somewhere else because we know that Geordi shows up, and I've seen, like I said, the scene of him confronting Sydney, his daughter, and having kind of a tense discussion with her about things. And then we know that Worf shows up and sees them again, and we know that Troy's going to factor in at some point. We still have no clue how
What's going on with them?
with Brent, and what's going on with Brent Spiner. We know he's supposed to be in it, and supposedly is lore, but that doesn't totally check out if you know your lore, if you know your history about that character and stuff. So lots of unexplained things. But you know, the one thing I think I can say pretty safely without sounding like a know-it-all is I think they're going to make it through okay.
I
For
think
now.
they are, yeah.
For now. By episode 10, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, who knows?
Be losing a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know with this episode. Like, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it like I did the last episode either.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
I'm like the characters. I'm very divided in both directions,
Right.
and I think it's because they divided me. I'm like, ugh. Am I team Riker? Am I team Picard? Am I team Picard
Beverly
or am I team Beverly?
Yeah.
So-
Exactly. I'm going to try to, I feel like I take way too long when I do the recaps, and this episode is so all over the place. I apologize in advance if I'm bringing up certain things like out of sequence here and stuff, because I'm doing it mostly by
memory.
I do have a thing here to read, but I'm mostly doing it by memory. So I'm just going to try to like address like the main points here. So first of all, yeah, obviously they are still being hunted cat and mouse style through this nebula cloud thing. which they come to find out is not actually a normal nebula cloud.
It's not. It's some strange anomaly that something biological is with it too, which interests me.
Yeah. We got to hear about that from the bald Vulcan science
lady.
officer. Yeah, and
she's
awesome.
Her. Yeah, I want to see more of her.
I think she's cool. Like, I'm like, oh, that's super cool. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of typical, like, oh boy, we're going to have another Vulcan science officer. Well, they're really good at it, and I think there's a tradition in Starfleet for that. But that character, that kind of character adds a levity there that we need amongst that cast. So I welcome it entirely.
I love her.
Yeah, I think she's great. But in any case, so they're still being pursued. Shaw is still quaking in his boots. Like, what in the hell have we gotten into? And he's also, here's the thing. I still have not warmed up to this man, although he really... Yeah, the stuff that happens with Shaw in this episode.
Yeah, he gets fucked up.
Yeah, he does. He ends up getting severely injured. But I have to admit that he is showing himself to be an astute judge of things, of not only of people but situations and stuff like that. And he's kind of putting it all together, and you find out as the episode goes on and everything that he's putting it all together, that like, this doesn't make sense. There's no reason why the Shrike should keep finding us like this. It's like we're
all blind. We're flying blind here. They're literally looking out back windows. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like, look at the freaking windows. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And they literally do it.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But he starts to kind of like piece it together that there's something amiss here. And I think, even though he didn't get a chance to say it, I think that he was already putting together the fact that there was a very particular reason. It wasn't just that the Shrike was so good or had anything like that. There was a very particular reason that they were being found. Before he can reveal that or act on that, they take some massive blows to the Titan, and results in not only the ship getting really messed up, but Shaw gets messed up. He gets deathly injured. Internal bleeding ends up being sent, to the medical bay and all that kind of stuff, where Beverly sort of, I love how assertive she's being. Like,
I do not like this doctor on this ship.
No.
She's another bitchy one for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to help. She's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Exactly.
She's like, I don't have 20 years. Or I don't have time to explain to you 20 years. Like, she's been practicing all this time. She's not like she's been frozen in time.
Right. And
Bitch.
it just kind of bothers me too. It's a smaller example, but it kind of bothers me too, because again, there's just so much effort to make everybody bitchy. Like Shaw is just like this bitchy asshole, and that doctor on there is just this bitchy doctor, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, okay, I get people can have differing opinions and things like that, but we know enough about Trek history and everything that these people, Picard, Riker, and Crusher, are well known, are well regarded and respected by maybe not by Shaw, maybe not by this Titan doctor, but overall are known people. This doctor very likely knows exactly who Beverly Crusher is and everything. And this idea of her just assuming that, being so dismissive, there's this whole thing of like I said, Shaw being dismissive of these old people with Riker and Picard, and what do they know? And they're just interfering with everything, and here's Beverly interfering, and I'm like, that's so reaching in the writing, in my opinion. I think they're reaching too hard. They're trying to find reasons to have cause of that schism there, and I'm like, I don't think that's necessary.
No, I agree, but it has been done in the past before. That's kind of like the trope or whatever. But
I'm
not to
big on
this
tropes.
extreme.
Yeah.
I know, you're really not.
No.
But it doesn't, this feels very extreme.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And I feel like it's unnecessary and kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. So I loved it when Beverly put her in place.
You
Like
know,
all the scans, like, bitch, use your knowledge.
and
Touch him.
and on the flip side of that, I also think it's a disservice to those new characters like this doctor and Shaw that it's like these people rose so far as to be, you know, the head medical officer and the captain of this ship, but they're that like devoid of, you know, reason and reasonability and all that. I'm like, I don't know. Again, this is just me. Other people might be like, I have no problem with it. That's cool. For me, it's tropes that they write into this stuff that's too soap opera-y and unnecessary. I could even understand showing that new doctor being like, you know, like flustered, like I can't
I'm just
figure
so busy.
out.
I can't
you know,
right
like
now.
there's too much going on and I can't figure out and I'm freaking out because this is my captain. And then Beverly being like, let me get in there and stuff and do that I would get. But again, the whole idea of all these people on the Titan just having this snotty attitude towards these old Enterprise people, it's like, come on, man, enough with that. That's just dumb. But anyway, so meanwhile, I should add, though, I'm getting a little ahead of myself with that. I should add that the real, I guess, core moment and the thing that everybody's been waiting for happens just before this. And that is when Picard and Beverly finally meet face to face alone and get an opportunity to discuss
Hash it out.
to discuss the fact that they have a son together. And I have very mixed opinions about this whole situation. I would like to know your input. We haven't talked about this at all. Like she literally just watched.
I literally finished it on my way
walked
home.
in the door. Yeah, so I would really like to know your opinions on the whole current situation with Jean-Luc and Beverly.
It feels very judgy because I'm not in the seat.
Right.
Okay, I'm not in that situation to have to face these kind of decisions.
Right.
So being out there, okay, if I was in this decision, I might do the same thing as Beverly, but I'm totally Team Picard. She fucked him.
Yeah, well, literally and figuratively. Yeah, I think I
don't think I didn't buy any of her reasons. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
I agree. And here's the problem I have with it. I feel like it's okay. Let me put it in this context. I feel like there's a lot of people. I feel like there are a lot of mothers out there who will totally disagree with us right now and say,
and that's why I want to preface it with, I've never been in that situation.
Right.
So even if I was, I might make her decisions.
And so on that level, I get it. Here's where I have a little bit of a problem with this situation and these people specifically. Okay, Bev, here's the problem with this. First of all, there was never any question at all about who you were with and what Jean-Luc Picard. I mean, yet by the time you fornicated with him, you knew you'd been through all these situations. You yourself had been through plenty of pretty dangerous situations. I get Jean-Luc Picard comparatively was way more of a target and way more likely to find himself in the middle of danger. But Bev, it isn't exactly like you are beyond that yourself, evidenced by the whole situation you're in now.
You're still in space, right?
You know,
I don't understand.
This whole situation you're in now. I mean, obviously, whatever you're into and the whole situation that's going on and these people pursuing you and Jack and all that had nothing to do, seemingly, I had that caveat, so because we need more
information.
More information. But this was all on you, So this whole idea of, well, I took my child away and didn't even ever let you know that he existed, which is that's the part that I think is the biggest issue. The idea of her saying, like, look, I don't feel safe having, us trying to be this family and you being there, you're always so hunted and so targeted. And if we were there with you, it would not be safe for me and especially not safe for my son. Completely get that. And I could completely understand her idea of being like, look, we're going to go on the other side of the galaxy and, we're just not, you're not going to get visitation rights. It's not safe, that sort of thing. Again, I don't completely agree with it, but I get it. You know what I mean? It's it's her excuses for why she did it. And the fact that she literally 20 some odd years later, never even told him.
Yeah. I think
that's the part that's like,
yeah. But Picard is such a diplomat. He's so diplomatic about everything.
Right.
I think if she had gone to him, given him the chance that he's asking, that he deserved in the first place, and she laid out all these things that she's worried about, he would have been like, you're right. This isn't safe for him. You guys need to go.
Right.
To protect it. But at least he would have fucking known and he could have made that decision himself.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because I think he would have come to that. Or he would have left everything behind.
Well, but to play devil's advocate, to be fair to Beverly, I think her point was that it wasn't so much me, Beverly, being concerned about the decision you were going to make. It was going to be what the universe was going to decide in terms of, I don't think she necessarily blames Picard for going out and getting himself into trouble. Like trouble finds him. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's why I think if she explained that to him, he would have been like, you're totally right. I can't fault you for that. We need to protect him. The only way to protect him is for you guys to go away.
Right.
And we don't have to tell anybody I have this son.
Right.
So you guys are protected. But she didn't give him that chance.
Right. And it's similar to a plot in a recent Marvel movie that I won't say because I don't think you've seen it yet. So I don't want to bring that up. But there is a similar plot that happens in a Marvel movie. And it's the same concept of it's not safe for the kid to be there, with the father and all that stuff. So nobody knew. But in that instance, they let the father at least know and have some say in it and everything. Mm-hmm. But the mother and the son went away and where it was safe and kept their son safe. That was the right way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. So. And again, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm sure there are people that are going to sit there and say...
our personal opinions on the matter.
I'm sure there are people that are going to sit there and say, no, you guys are so far off the mark. If it was me and if you had a child, okay, fine. But I think all of that is fine. You know what I mean? Even if it's okay, fine. But the problem that I have really with it, just as a Trek fan, is I don't feel like that's what Beverly would have done.
Right.
It seems.
I think they would have sat down and talked about it.
I think Beverly was so much wiser than that and not so reactive. And I mean, by the time that she had Jack, she was a fully grown, mature woman, had already, raised a child. She had been through so many situations and so many, life and death situations and lost people. And I understand they tried to use that as a factor in why she was reacting this way, but I'm not buying it. I don't buy it. And there's too many things about the way our characters acted in this episode that I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. I don't believe that. I thought that Jean-Luc reacted very well towards it. In the way he handled it and stuff. And I thought that later, again, jumping ahead a little bit, later on when they're sustaining more damage and they're trying to figure out what or who is causing them to be so easily found. And when Jack finds himself injured and the whole thing of Picard and just that scene of him in the turbo lift, that just not talking, just that worry of I just met my son and he might be gone already. I haven't even had an opportunity.
I didn't stop and talk to him yet. Acknowledge him.
Yeah, we haven't had any kind of opportunity yet and everything. Especially because Beverly brings up the fact that, she did let Jack know who her father was and gave him the opportunity when he was older to want to meet Picard, and he chose not to. And that too, I'm kind of like, well,
duh.
yeah,
Of course, you formed him this way for the last 20 years.
right, exactly. You wait until he's an adult and then you tell him this and you show, and we saw that with other comments when Jack was talking about, when Jack was talking about how anytime Beverly would bring up those old days, she would barely talk about it, and she would seem real sad and like all these things. So he has this like negative connotation of all those people of those times and of Picard. And I'm sure he's got a lot of like pent up anger, because even though she is the one that ran away with Jack and kept Picard from even knowing. So it's not even like Picard could be looked at as a deadbeat dad. He didn't know.
Yeah.
But as the child, I'm sure there's still a lot of
there still is.
Issues and anger and frustration there with it. Even just the idea of like, well, yeah, maybe you weren't a deadbeat dad, but obviously, however you were or what you did or whatever it is caused my mother to run away from you and hide us away from you and all that stuff. That in and of itself is going to, really inform his opinion or whatever you want to call it, his overall view of his dad or his father. Gosh, I know I'm jumping all over the place. I apologize for that. But I do want to also bring up that I hadn't really been greatly feeling the Jack character. Like not that I disliked him, but I wasn't really feeling him.
Not getting into him?
Yeah. And in this episode, I did. This is definitely one of the characters in this episode that I feel like, it's funny because I feel like the newer characters, people like Shaw, people like Jack, I feel like they raised themselves up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I have a little bit of a higher estimation of them in terms of their character as people and everything. Whereas the way they portrayed our beloved classic characters, I feel like they kind of knocked them all down, and not all of them, but they kind of, in a way, almost knocked them down. Same with Sydney LaForge. They showed her to be really strong of character when she ends up talking to Seven, because Seven, I should bring that up because there's not too much to bring up about Seven yet anyway. But when she ends up going and visiting Sydney, I should say, goes up and visits Seven, who's in the brig
she's like being held in her quarters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you couldn't say she's in the brig. Yeah, but she's under arrest, essentially.
Yeah, she can't leave.
She can't leave her quarters, confined to quarters, because of the whole snafu that happened with her getting them into this situation in the first place and disobeying orders and stuff. Sydney goes and talks to her and is like trying to relate to her and show her respect, because she's seen the disrespect that Seven has had at the hands of Captain Shaw, and she, doesn't like it, obviously, and tries to bring up Seven. But like, to your point you brought up earlier, is that like Seven was being sort of like unnecessarily nasty towards her.
Yeah, she's like, this feels rehearsed. It's like, she's just trying to be nice to you.
Yeah.
What's this about? She didn't do anything.
Right. And I understand that. I know that it's like, well, it's 7 of 9. She's kind of cold. And I'm like,
no,
yeah, but
not.
we've gotten past that.
Yeah.
We've long since gotten past.
Stoic. I would have been fine with that. But she was just flat out bitchy.
Yeah, exactly. I thought she was being unnecessarily uncouth towards Sydney. And I was like, okay, what was the point of that? I'm sure it'll add up to something later. Yeah, it's going to
come back in the end.
But there was yet another thing that I was ticking off my list. I'm going, okay, everybody with these mood swings, man. Like I said, 17 mood swings is the name of the episode. So that whole thing, okay, that kind of happened or whatever. What ends up happening, though, is that going back to when Shaw is injured and he's brought into the medical facility and stuff, and Beverly starts working on him, starts trying to save his life. Shaw is there on the table, and Jack is feeling horrible because he's he's kind of whispering or whatever to Shaw.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
saying,
sorry.
this is my fault. I'm so sorry I got you into this. And Shaw's kind of like, he doesn't want to hear it. But he's like,
how do they keep finding us?
how do they keep finding us? He keeps saying that. How do they keep like letting it, like indicating like there's a reason they keep finding us? He's not just like befuddled. It's like, no. How?
He's being very lucid right now.
Yeah, he's like basically saying there's a reason we're being followed. Go figure it out. So Jack ends up teaming up with Seven. And they come to find out that the reason that they are being found is because they are trailing some kind of it's a leak. Yeah, some sort of toxic leak that could have only been done by close proximity phaser fire, meaning sabotage, as good old Captain Kirk would say. It's a case of sabotage. Yeah, so there's sabotage from inside, and again, maybe like I said, I feel like Shaw was already figuring that out.
Oh yeah,
I think he was. I
think he was.
Yeah, I definitely think he's, like I said, I don't like the way he acts towards people, but I definitely think he's an astute, he's a good captain,
He knows what's up.
Yeah. So anyway, they go and they try to pursue the person. They try to track down the person that did this, and they end up.
They're trying to fix it.
Well, exactly. They're at first.
I think that guy tracks him down.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you're right. It's actually the other way around. They're found, not that they found him, but they found what he did and everything. They're trying to do something about it, and that gets ugly. to say the least.
Jack gets his ass kicked.
Jack gets his ass kicked in a bad way. Yeah, exactly.
He loses his mask.
Yeah. And I feel like before I go on any further with that, and this is part of another thing that was a little bit frustrating when it came to this episode, is the fact that it jumped around a lot. And with so much tension in this, I get that they probably did this because they needed to break away from the tension or whatever and not have it too lopsided or whatever. But it felt weird, the juxtaposition of the Raffi and Worf story against what's going on the Titan. I felt like it was too jarringly taking me out of it. It's like I either wanted to be all consumed by one or the other, because I liked them both. Yeah. Like, I'm not knocking the Raffi and Worf stuff. That was my favorite part. I was just going to say, that was my favorite part of this episode, actually, was their stuff. I thought that was great. I really like where they're going with that.
I do. Yes. Yeah. I loved Worf's introduction.
Yeah.
He's like, all this stuff, Killer of Gowron. All this
that was, yeah,
like,
exactly.
And I'm making chamomile tea. Would you like some? Would you like sugar?
Yeah. Yeah. And I made chamomile tea. And I love, by the way, I don't know if anybody noticed it, but when Raffi comes around and she walks in and finds Worf doing his Klingon, whatever it is, his Klingon yoga, basically. And everything, and just practicing and stuff. He's listening to the classical music, and it's the same piece of classical music that Picard is listening to in First Contact.
Oh, really?
When I think Riker walks in to Picard's quarters, and he's listening to this piece of classical music, and they talk about it for like a hot second and everything. It's the same piece of classical. So I thought that was kind of cute.
Nice little nod.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of cute. It's like, oh, Worf learned about classical music from
He's
Picard.
grown a lot.
Yeah, it's like, I loved how they keep trying to show him like I'm trying to be civilized and I'm trying to be more centered, but he's still so Worf, like he's still so aggressive, like he can't shake it completely. Which then gets funnier as it goes on, because Worf reveals to Raffi, they kind of go back and forth about her mission and blah, 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 blah. And she, at first, she's feeling a little hostile about it. But then as he explains things more to her, she starts to come around and realize it makes sense. Plus, I also think it's kind of cute that she's super jazzed that her guy is Worf. Like, she's really excited that it's Worf. Like, she starts off by saying, like, man, you're a legend, you
they
know?
love that word in this series.
Yeah, they do. Well, these
Using
characters,
a lot. All the legends
are legends. I mean, that's what this season even is about. But I love seeing her, even when he tells her, like, we're going to work together on this and blah, 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 blah. And he walks away and she's just like, cool. Like, she's like, this is awesome. Like, I could never have hoped that I was going to be teamed up with Worf, the Klingon warrior, you know, like, that's so Rafi. Like,
that was a perfect pairing. Whoever thought of that was a genius.
Exactly. That's so her, you know what I mean? Because she's kind of the same way, you know, she can be vicious and brutal and everything, but cunning and kind of, you know, and her in her own way, trying to center herself and find that inner peace, but she's still like, you know, and that's the two of them. Beautifully done. I really like the way the two actors are interacting and working. Yeah, like you said. Yeah. Perfect writing there. Anyway, Worf has a lead on who it is that is...
that's Rika.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's got a lead on who it is that they need to track down and who
Sneed was protecting.
Right, who had paid the Ferengi to lie, as he said. And they do end up tracking him down, and they end up playing kind of
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, they play
awesome.
like this like really cool like good cop, bad cop thing, because they managed to barely corner him and capture him and all this stuff, and they start doing the whole good bad interrogation thing. This guy is not in like good shape. He seems like he's like tweaking bad. Rafi is under the impression that, well, this guy's a tweaker. He's like how I used to be. He's all hooked on drugs.
Detoxing
and
or whatever.
Yeah, he's hanging out, you know, in this area and all this stuff. So yeah, he's just detoxing and stuff. And so, you know, she's trying to like
take off his fingernails and let him die from like, jeez.
And I love that she's the bad cop.
And Worf's like, we're not taking off your fingers.
Worf's like, okay. I don't do those sorts of things anymore, you know, and everything. And she's like, oh, come on, man. I don't finally get teamed up with Worf, the Klingon warrior, and you're going to tell me you're all about chamomile tea and classical music and being a pacifist.
This is the one thing that the character being the extreme opposite I'm loving.
Yes.
Because this is not Worf, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, okay. And it is still falling into the whole thing of acting opposite from what we expect
or mood
of
swings,
them and stuff. But yeah, in this case, I'm digging it. Yeah, I really, really like where this is going. But anyway, so they're going back. She's threatening him with violence. Then she's trying to intimidate the guy by waving drugs in front of his face, thinking that's going to make him crack. He won't give in. But as this time is going on, this guy's getting worse. And it becomes really apparent, especially to Worf, who is familiar with this condition, if we want to call it that this guy's not a drug addict. There's something else going on here. What it turns out is...
it's like, how long have you been away from the...
Yeah.
What is it? The source or the...
Yeah, from the...
clearly not a Deep Space Nine person. The little jar they got to get into. Yeah, the... receptacle.
The whole collective thing. Yeah. And what it comes down to is that the reason why this guy is looking like this and he's essentially morphing before their eyes is because he is away from his collective of changelings. He's a shapeshifter. Now, okay... I'm not even going to bother.
No, we can't get into all of that.
To get into and everything, but this is a huge callback and connection to the villains from, they weren't all villains, but you know, from characters from Deep Space Nine. They just tied into Deep Space Nine, which makes sense because Worf, you know, was part of that and everything, and so he would have that familiarity with it, but. At the end of Deep Space Nine, when the changelings had made their whole kind of peace treaty type thing and all that kind of stuff, it does stand to reason, and they knew, and it was kind of understood and stated that like not everybody was going to, just like any kind of thing like that, there's always going to be a faction of people that don't agree with making peace. They don't agree with treaties. They don't agree with having to settle or back down or whatever. And so from the sounds of it, at least the way we're being led to believe is that this guy is part of whatever this faction is that is against Starfleet. And he also reveals to Worf and Raffi that the
weapon that was taken.
The portal weapon, we'll call it, that was taken was not the main target, was not the main priority of their whole
It's
plan.
all a distraction.
Yeah, it was nothing but a red herring, as they would say in Clue. So that's a
Like,
huge
what?
revelation. Yeah, exactly. And it is further now tying in whatever's going on up there in space with the Shrike and the Titan, because clearly the Shrike has this portal weapon.
That was pretty cool.
And we'll get to that in a second and everything. And obviously that is tied in. So we're learning that, Vatic and the Shrike and stuff, there's more going on there, as we had surmised, than them just being some sort of bounty hunters and stuff. There's obviously a deeper, like, anti-Starfleet plot and thing going on here. One other like little callback thing that I thought was like super cool, if people caught it, was when Worf is revealing to this shapeshifter that he knows who he is and everything, and he knows all about him and the tree, and he brings up that I knew a very honorable man that was involved in that. That was Odo that he's referring to. Now, Odo, unfortunately, cannot be a part of this because Rene Auberjonois, the actor that played him, passed away in 2019, which is a shame, because that would have been like...
That would have been pretty cool.
People would have lost their fucking minds if Odo would have been in there, because, like... We're not. I like Deep Space Nine. You don't really really care about it. We're not like the biggest Deep Space Nine fans and everything, but
Odo was always pretty cool.
And Odo was always cool. And people, like, especially as time has gone by, people freaking love Deep Space Nine. Like, that has for a lot.
I need to give it another shot.
A lot of Trek fans that I know personally are like, "Oh, that's my favorite Trek," and I'm like, "What?" Really? Because like that show used to put me to sleep sometimes,
Agreed.
and everything. But I have come around to it recently in recent years, and I need to do a deeper dive on it. I think I just didn't like it because there's too many Ferengis, and I fucking despise.
Like Ferengis.
I despise Ferengis so much. I just quark and Anyway, so that essentially for now wraps up the Worf and Raffi story. We do get back to what's going on with the Titan and the Shrike and stuff like that. And then this is going to kind of two main things that need to be brought up. I'll talk about the lesser of the two, in my opinion, the lesser of two. First of all, when Jack is injured and not in good shape and everything, and he is rescued essentially by Seven, who I should also add that it turns out that the person that was causing the damage on the Titan was another shapeshifter.
Yep.
So that indicates that, again, there's this whole changeling.
That's why you can trust nobody.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, Beverly was right, When Jack is injured, lying there injured and almost unconscious, he sees Seven there, but she starts telling him things. It's more like a vision. It's not what's actually going on. He has sort of like this vision about, what was it, like follow the vines or... Yeah,
it's...
He's... Yeah.
Yeah, she's like describing stuff, and from what I was reading...
Yes.
Because I'm not Deep Space Nine, so I'm not overly familiar.
Okay.
But... apparently what she's describing and everything and what he's kind of seeing is the changeling's world.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Their home world.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So, but how is he seeing that? Is he connected to them somehow? There's like a theory, is he a changeling and he's pretending to be? the sun? I don't know. I don't know if I buy that one.
I don't know if I buy that, but there's definitely something else going on because exactly one thing that hasn't even come close to being answered is why this is all happening in the first place in regards to
why do they want Jack so bad?
Right. What
Beverly thinks it's because of Picard, but
no, it's not.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
It has nothing to do.
It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That was a cheap shot. Not cool.
I agree. I didn't. And I thought that was a bunch of baloney.
Yeah. But what I also was reading that Picard has a condition. He has hold on, I got to look it up. Rheumatic syndrome.
Okay.
Where he has these visions and everything.
Right.
Is that hereditary? And that's what's happening to Jack.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's interesting. I can maybe get behind that.
Yeah, okay. That makes some sense.
Yeah.
Still doesn't exactly
explain why they want him unless they know he can do this.
Unless
he's been hiding it.
Right, unless there's some reason they need that power for or something.
Yeah, maybe they can't get back to their homeworld or something.
Right. Exactly. It could be something along those lines. But that whole thing was a little, I'm glad you explained that about like the connection with the vines and all that stuff. That really explains a lot because otherwise the whole thing just felt really
out of place
and shoehorned in there. And I was like, well, what does this mean? Again, I know we'll get explanation later, but it just definitely seemed kind of out of place. But I mean, the last thing that to really discuss in terms of this episode and everything is that the biggest swing in the biggest drop in temperature, we will call it, definitely had to do with the relation between Riker and Picard. And man, I don't know.
At first I was all excited to have it like, oh, we have a change, like Picard's now number one. He even tells him to call him number one.
Yeah,
I was like, this is really
cute.
sweet.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. And then it quickly fell to shit.
And seeing Riker being able to get into the captain's chair and really
take charge. That was awesome. I loved every bit of that.
Until they decided to turn it into something else. It was interesting the way they did this episode because I know that they also, one of the things that I've seen people online really complaining about, and I get it, is they did not like the de-aging technology they used on them.
It was weird because sometimes it's like, oh, that looks really good. And then he'd like move his head. So it's like, oh gosh, what happened there?
It doesn't track well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Exactly. When you compare it to like the technology they used recently for like the Mandalorian and things like that. Yeah, it doesn't track well. I mean,
it didn't really bother me. I caught it again because I started watching it again to try to catch some stuff since I had to split it up so much.
Right.
And that's when I really noticed it.
I noticed it on first viewing, but it wasn't.
But I was literally watching it on my touch phone. So
that probably makes a difference. I was watching it on the regular television, I noticed it, but I didn't, it was like, oh, okay, well, that's a little shoddy. But it didn't bother me. It wasn't like, I've seen people like online that are just disgusted by this, and I'm like, guys, it's a TV show.
Yeah, she's like, okay, whatever.
It's like, yeah, they could have done a better job of that. It was only there to serve the purpose of the storytelling, and it was I guess the whole point of it was to set up why Riker doesn't have the backbone supposedly that we think he should have, or that Picard thinks he should have, because after the loss of his son, that was it Thaddeus? Is that his son?
Thaddeus. Yeah.
After the death of Thaddeus, that
he's not willing to take risk.
I don't
buy that either.
Again, I thought that whole thing that felt really weird and forced, man. Like I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. What about you? I mean, how did you feel about the way that ended up at the very end with them literally? I mean, like Riker was literally like seething mad at Picard. Like we've never seen him like that.
Okay, so this whole thing, I was team Riker the entire way. It's like they've already explained the strike is so incredibly powerful. It's a warship. Okay. the Titan is not.
Right.
It's like has nothing. They took it out of the bay before it could have been out of the bay. It has nothing to protect itself out there.
Yeah, boy,
it
that sounds
cannot
familiar,
stand up
huh?
it. Right.
That's never happened in Star Trek before. Anyway.
And they already know this, but Picard keeps saying, we got to fight. With what? What do you want to fight with, dude? We already know you can't. That's signing all your death certificates.
Yeah.
For sure. Riker's trying to like, we got to get away. And then he tries to go towards it. It's like, well, we can't do that. It's tearing us apart. So we're going to try to get away and have those warp cores ready to go. And the whole time, Picard's like, you got to fight. You got to fight. Now, if that had happened before with number one, Picard would have shut it down. It's like, look, I take everything you're saying. And I think he actually said, I'll take everything under advisement. Which means shut the fuck up. I got it. I got how you feel about it. Now stay in your place.
Yeah.
But to say that, at the end of it, I don't think that was Riker. How he should have reacted. He was a captain for a long time. He knows his, if you want to say
his
staff,
role. He knows,
his role,
his
all his people count on him. They're leaning on him. He can't show that kind of weakness. Like, oh, you just all killed us all. I was like, okay, so you just gave up. So now we're hopeless now. I don't think that would have happened. I didn't like that.
There was too much going on there, both in the way, to some degree, even the way Picard was acting during that whole scene on the bridge there at the end for the last, 10, 15 minutes of the episode. Picard, but especially Will, I just felt like, again, I understand it's supposed to be, well, people change and they've been through things. I get that. I still felt like it was too abrupt of a 180 turn from who these guys are and what they would do. Because here's the thing. Again, these guys have been in so many situations, hundreds of situations over the years. Yeah. Anybody at home, once they started, they would be able to realize that once the Shrike started using the portal weapon and everything, obviously Picard and Riker would have been able to assess we're in a stalemate here. There's nothing.
It's a no-win situation right now.
Right. This is Kobayashi Maru. You know, it's like we can't run. We can't attack.
Fight.
We can't.
All we can do is hide.
We can't. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they would have known that. Both of them would have known and understood that. And I don't think the argument of we need to attack, we need to run, I don't think it would have gone that way. That's just that's not the way I'm sorry to be that kind of fan or whatever, but I mean it's a fan show is what we do, right? Yeah. But I just don't, if it was me, knowing what I know about these characters, even the shit they've been through and the years that have tacked on, I don't believe that's the way that would have gone down. I understand them butting heads. They've butted heads before about things, but I don't think it would have gone down in that manner. Okay. It really bothered me. I started out this episode feeling pretty good about a lot of things. Like I said, I loved where it went with Raffi and Worf. I loved that whole storyline. It was exciting realizing that the changelings are part of this. I love where we saw new characters going, Shaw showing some cunning and actually showing some, being like, look, you're in charge now. You know what I mean? Wasn't even being a dick about it. It was just
he kind of was.
Well,
he's like, you got us here, you get us out.
Well, yeah.
I got to go die now. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what I'm saying. It's like all that, that Sydney and all that, there was so many things, even that flashback scene for its CG flaws or whatever. I thought it was cool. I thought it was kind of funny when, finding out that his kid was running around the engineering or whatever it was.
Projectile.
Yeah.
Need a science experiment.
Yeah, and everything. I thought that was pretty fun. There was a lot of stuff that started out, and then by the end, and I understand that was the point of this episode, was well, by the end, you're supposed to feel despair and everything. And it's I get that. I didn't feel despair. I felt frustrated. I was like, oh, this isn't, man, I don't know. I just feel again from the writing standpoint, I'm this feels like this is being written by people who are trying too hard to create discord for the sake of it and stuff, and aren't really taking enough into consideration the history of these characters and who they really are and the situations they've been in and stuff like that. Just the way they're trying to explain Beverly's actions and the way they're trying to explain Riker's actions and, you know, and Seven's actions even, you know, towards Sydney and everything. And I'm like, no, are they all fucking changelings? Like, I don't.
Maybe something happened. Maybe somebody took over Riker or whatever.
Maybe.
Picard. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of ways this can go. And I mean, again, I've got these gripes, but truthfully, I mean, overall, they're minimal gripes. I know that odds are by the next episode, a lot of them are going to be, you know, they're gonna go off in another direction, and we're gonna have other reveals, other things. So I'm not. If anybody thinks that it's like I'm being like a hater, not at all. I'm loving this show. As much as I loved seasons 1 and 2, even though I had my complaints about them as well. This season already,
been phenomenal.
Wow, like this is Star Trek, man. I know we've said it before, and I'm going to probably keep saying it. This is still Star Trek, even with the flaws of character, you know, development or
direction at the moment.
Yeah, direction. Yeah, thank you. Good word for it. It is like character direction and stuff I'm not totally feeling. I also know enough about Star Trek that we've seen things happen in the past where it comes back around. There's a journey that goes on there.
Right.
And everything. So I've got high hopes. What about you?
Yeah, I still very much have high hopes, and I have a theory of how they get out of this little conundrum.
Oh, really?
I could be way off base, but
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, you don't want to say your theory, or
I can.
I mean, because it's just a theory.
It's just a theory. I don't know squat. I have no reason to think this other than what I heard in this episode.
Right.
But that science officer saying that this nebula is organic, basically. There's something biological about it. And I understand that as they get closer to the center, it's doing, you know, bad things to their ship and everything, and they think it's going to tear it apart. I think this nebula thing somehow saves them.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking like, okay, there's got to be some sort of like phenomenon that happens. Phenomenon. Sorry, but I saw the look on your face. You thought of it too. But I think that there's going to have to be some sort of phenomenon that saves them as a result of where they're at and everything. Just like we've got these portal hole things that they can fall through and stuff. There's got to be something to that. Plus, here's the other thing. I'm under the impression, you get the idea that Vadic and whomever, they still want Jack. Like, I don't think they don't want to kill Jack. They need Jack. That's what.
Right. But I mean, at this point, they could just, you know, go get him and bring him back. The changeling is still there. He can be coming after him.
Well, but I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know that they're just going to let the Titan just fall to its doom and everybody, including Jack, die aboard it. Like, I think that there could also be something that factors in with that.
Yeah, maybe the Vadic ship just does a tractor beam thing and takes off with them.
Could be.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways this can go, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny that I said I wanted to keep this short.
That was a lie. I knew that was a lie the second you said it.
You know, I want to keep things short, but the problem, especially with this episode, my gosh, there was so much going on. I mean, there's still things that we didn't even like totally touch on about the episode, but I think we hit most.
We hit the highlights.
Yeah, the major things and everything. So yeah. Looking forward very much to next week to episode
these next
4.
episodes are supposed to be the best ones, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's right. You told me that before. You heard that little leaked information. So, very curious, very curious.
The next Thursday yet?
Yeah. But all right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for checking out our show. Geeking Poetic Podcast. We have our own group on Facebook, if you're not aware, called the Geeking Squad group. I'll have links in the description below. So once you're done watching or listening to this, feel free to go join us in the group as long as you're not a jerk, you know. Don't act like a Captain Shaw. Be more like a Sydney.
Yep.
That's what we want there.
It's our new motto.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me tonight?
Moda? Your Moda? Yeah, Moda. Yeah. Well, to be
Motto,
fair,
there we go.
to be fair, Meg, you did.
I've had a long day,
You had
guys.
a lot, and you literally ran in here and sat down and got.
My
yeah.
coat's laying over there on the floor.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So you've barely had a moment to even catch your breath. But we wanted to get this out tonight while we had an opportunity. Weather's supposed to be terrible tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we will be back next Thursday, provided nothing else happens or whatever. We will be back next Thursday to talk about episode 4. We encourage you all, if you watch the episode before we go live, man,
Join us.
Join us. You know, we've got the live chat here. We didn't have any chatters with us today, which is a bummer because we love having the interaction with you guys. That's why we do this live stream style. But even if you couldn't be here, then leave us
a comment afterwards.
You know, on YouTube or on
Tell us your theories and your thought on everything.
Or on Podbean or Spotify, anywhere that you're watching or listening to this. Let us know what you think and
make sure to subscribe.
Absolutely,
always.
We
love those.
Love the subscribers. So. Can you do it? Do you have the strength in you after such a long day? Can you do that?
I really don't. Oh,
do the
there we
farewell?
go. I did it. Woo-hoo.
Let y'all know that we wish you to live long and prosper. And like
like Pac-Man.
We're making like little Pac-Man things.
We're going delusional here.
Okay, yeah, we're done. All right.
Cut us off. Bye, guys.
See you, everybody.